The stamp set that I'm using for this project is called For the Birds, and it's a very versatile, lovely little set. It's got some cute little birds with all different expressions, and the one that we're using today has the Merry Christmas with the little skating bird. So I've actually already gone ahead and I've stamped my bird on a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I stamped him in my StazOn, my black StazOn ink, and I just punched him out with my decorative label. So I'm going to go ahead and color him because I want to get him all done up and set aside because he's going to need to dry a little bit because we're going to use some crystal effects on him. So I'm taking my pool party and I'm just squeezing the ink pad, because when you squeeze the lid to the base you get a puddle of ink, because we are basically making our own watercoloring. This is an aqua painter. It's a really slick tool. I use it quite often. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's really quite simple to use. But basically it's your watercoloring paintbrush with the water attached. So you see, you unscrew it, put it underneath the tap, put some water in there, and then you just screw the lid back on. And when you buy these from Stampin' Up, you get a package of two. So you've got a bigger tip and a smaller tip. And then you just squeeze it out until water comes out. And then you're ready to rock and roll. And if you get too much water, I just take it out with my fingertips, or you can brush it out on your scrap paper. But when you go into your puddle of ink you've made, you now have watercoloring, and it's a really fast way to add color to your projects. So I want to make it look like I've got some ice underneath my little bird. So I'm just scribbling on a little bit of the blue. And then I go back and forth on a piece of scrap paper until that comes out clear, and then I know it's ready to go into the next color. The next color, I'm going to use some crumb cake, and I just want to do a little bit of a wash on my bird, just so it's nice and light. The neat thing about using your aqua painter with your ink pads, when you do this, you don't get as bold a color that you would if you use markers direct to your paper. We are going to use markers on here, but just for a little bit of touch up here and there. And watercoloring is very forgiving. You don't have to worry so much about staying in the lines. Next, I'm taking my smoky slate, and I only need a little bit, so I'm just going to dab it off a bit on my scrap paper, and I'm just going to go around my bird. I like to do this because it adds a little bit of a shadow, so it gives the bird a bit of dimension. As with anything you color, it's always better to go lighter, and then you can add color as you go. Alright, that's what I have so far. Got my real red, and I'm going to add a little bit to his belly. Now I'm going to take my markers directly to the paper, and I'm using gumball green on the hat and on the scarf. And I'm going to use a bit of Coastal Cabana on his scarf and hat as well. I'm taking my basic gray and I'm going to put that on his beak. A little Sahara sand on his skates. And I'm just going to add some tempting turquoise on his little Christmas ornament. Now I'm going to use crumb cake again, which is the same color I used in the wash on the bird. I'm just going to put a little bit here and there just to kind of add a bit of shadow. And he is pretty much colored. So I'm taking my pool party ink pad again, and I've got my snowflake, which came from the Snow Day stamp set, and I'm going to stamp my snowflake randomly on the card. This is the part that is going to need to dry, so I'm just squeezing out my dazzling details I'm just kind of rubbing it on my snowflakes just to add a bit of sparkle and dimension. And do the same thing just a little bit underneath the skates. So hopefully you can see I've got some sparkle going on, and that just takes a little bit to dry. And the next product I'm going to use is Crystal Effects. This is a really neat thing to have in your craft room. So it dries really, really clear, almost like a shiny plastic. And maybe you've seen the jewelry that's made out of bottle caps and things like that. Well, this is what you would fill in the bottle cap with, so it dries really nice and clear and hard. It's really, really cool. And I'm going to put a little bit of this onto my bird. I'm also going to put a little bit on his skates. And I'm going to put a little bit underneath for the ice. And of course I got that sparkle underneath the ice too, which is really fun. Little bird is going to have like a 3D dimension on him, and he's going to dry nice and hard and really clear and shiny. So I'm going to set that aside. So now we're going to make the box, and it's actually a card and a box rolled into one. What you need is a piece of cardstock that measures at 3 by 12. You're also going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. A piece of cardstock that measures 2 3/4, and this is just a piece of computer paper that I've cut to go on the inside that measures 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 as well. And I got these measurements from Julie Davison, another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so thank you, Julie, for the inspiration. So I now have my Simply scored, and I'm going to line up my paper this way, and I'm going to take my little tool and I'm going to score it 3 and 4, and I'm going to score it 7 and 8. I know I don't have a marker there, and our last score is at 11. While I have my Simply scored out, we're going to take the piece of 4 7/8 by 4 7/8, and I'm going to score it 1 inch on all sides. Alright, so we're going to fold on those creases, and if you want you can take your bone folder so you get a really good crisp fold. And now we're going to take our paper snips okay, I'm going to take my Snell adhesive and I'm going to put some adhesive on those corners. Now, depending on what you would put inside of this little box depends on the adhesive that you would use. If you are going to be putting something heavy, then you would want to use sticky strip because that will be more durable. So now I'm just folding it up on all 4 sides. Okay. I now have a circle. This, by the way, is cherry cobbler, and this circle is basic gray, and then the green is gumball green. And I'm just going to put this in the center, one of the sides, and fold it over. I'm going to take my crocodile. Now, if you haven't seen a crocodile, these are really cool. It's a hole punch on each side, and then this sets eyelets and things like this. So you've got a big hole punch, and you've got a smaller one. So this is your 3 1/16 side and your 7/8. So I'm going to use the 3 1/16, the bigger of the holes, and I'm just going to punch a hole relatively kind of sort of try for the center, just like that. Then I have a piece of gumball green ribbon. This is why it's hard, by the way, to get rid of scraps of ribbon, because you can always find a use for them. This is going to be the handle on our little drawer. So I've just tied a knot in one end. I'm going to take my scissors. These are my fabric scissors. Stampin' Up! Sells them, but I keep ribbon on them, so I know they're just for fabric. I'm going to trim off that end. And I'm going to thread this through the hole just like that. So this part, the knot is on the outside. I'm going to trim off that excess. I'm going to take a glue dot and put that on the inside just to fold it over. So that's our little handle. So that can be set aside. Now back to our 3x12 piece of paper. We're now going to fold up on all the creases that we made. This is your 1-inch side. This is at your 11 inches where we've scored that. And we're just going to fold it over. Alright, so it's your little card that opens up to a little box. That. So you can put your little card here and a little treat in here. Alright, so we're going to decorate the cover. So we're going to take a snowflake from the Festive Flurry, and we're going to do tone on tone. So we're just going to stamp the crumb cake right on top of the crumb cake, just like this. Next we have Merry Little Christmas, and we're going to use this little decorative corner. And we're going to stamp that in crumb cake as well, and just do the corners. It's just a quick way to decorate those little empty spots. And then that gets set on the front like this. Alright, so we're going to do the inside of the card now. So I've got the expression from Merry Little Christmas with 4 of my markers: Cherry Cobbler, Gumball Green, Tempting Turquoise, and our crumb cake. So I'm going to start with my Gumball Green. This is markers direct to the stamp, and this is really a neat way to color your stamps. This is always a neat way to omit something in your stamp too. So for instance, if you just wanted this little banner, you would just use your marker on that and stamp, so you wouldn't have to ink up the rest of your stamp. So that's always fun. Now sometimes by the time you finish inking with your markers, some of this may have dried. So you're just going to huff on it so that your breath can re-moisten that ink. And then push down, and then just hold it there for just a couple seconds. So that looks really nice, and you've got all your different colors. We're going to take that same little corner stamp that we used on the front and do that on the corners here as well. So that's going to go on the inside of our card. Okay, so I'm sticking on my little bird on the front with some washi tape just to hold it down. Okay. I've made a bow with some of our baker's twine, the early espresso baker's twine. I'm just putting a glue dot behind it, and that's going to get tucked in the corner. I'll just trim those edges a little bit. And then last, I'm going to grab a candy dot, and I think I'm going to use dark gray just to tie in the little gray there on the drawer. So there's our adorable little card box. with the little drawer. And we need something fun to put in that drawer. So what I've done is I use my digital studio and I printed off these labels on a piece of crumb cake cardstock and then just cut them. And then I made the ends like this. And then I just used more washi tape to put them on little bags of what I call spiced winter tea. And this is a delicious citrusy, cinnamony kind of drink that's really nice in any time of year, but it's really nice in the winter time. And the recipe for this is on my website at www.serenestamper.com, and I have a recipe tab at the top of the page. So if you just go there and scroll down, you'll see something called Stamp Club tea, I believe, or Stampers tea. That's because my Friday night stamp group loves this tea, so I put the recipe up there for them. So you just add 2 teaspoons with a cup of boiling water, sip and enjoy. So we're going to open up the little drawer. We're just going to tuck this in like that. And put it back in. So somebody will get this and they'll think, oh my gosh, that's cute. Look at that sweet little card. And then when they open up, they'll have something delightful and fun inside, which of course you can put anything on the inside. So isn't that fun? I really hope you give this a try. It's really easy. The measurements will be on my blog as well. And even with this one stamp set and this cute design, you can make these little gifts for anybody, no matter the season, no matter the occasion or the reason. And I know you're going to love this project because really what's not to love? It's just really easy and really fun, and it's just really cool. So give that a whirl. Thanks for watching and happy stamping.